Well, Lisa, thank you so much for agreeing to come on this world-renowned show here, the Oregon Brew Running Series show. As someone who has been in radio for a while, you can teach me how to do this when we're done.
Well, I'm sure you're doing fine, so I wouldn't worry about it.
Well, thank you. I also have to give a shout-out to my brother-in-law, Michael Hoffman, who is one of the owners at the Bridgetown Beer House in North Portland, who suggested that I talk with you about this. We wanted to do a little kind of beer 101 demonstration.
Mm-hmm.
We found that a lot of our participants at our 5K fun runs are enthusiastic about craft beer, but much like myself, they are rather new to this. And we did another show with a running coach, just kind of talking about some, basics of running, and I thought this would be perfect.
Basics of beer.
The basics of beer, exactly. So, do you want to do this part first, and then we can talk a little bit?
With that, and we can kind of start with
perfect.
Yeah, why not?
Let's do that, because that will lead into some of my first questions, I think.
Sounds good. Yeah. So, one of the things you were interested in is you were kind of wondering about the importance of glassware.
Yeah. Does it matter?
Does it matter? Is it just for pretty?
Yeah.
What's going on with that? So, I like to do this a lot with some of the classes that I teach and some things like that. I think it's really fun. So what we've got here is kind of it's actually a Saison glass, but it's a glass that you could use for a Pilsner as well.
Okay.
It's something that typically a very effervescent beer will go in because the bubbles actually aren't just for show as either. They actually help lift aroma to the nose.
Okay.
And if you've ever had a cold and tried to eat something, you know that
it's
the
tasteless.
stuffing is tasteless. Right. So the olfactory glands are very, very important for what we taste. So with this type of glass, it is typically used for a beer that is going to have a lot of effervescence, to have those bubbles lift that all the way up this long, tall glass into your nose.
So is that so you can smell it before you taste it?
Mm-hmm.
Almost?
Yeah.
Okay.
And at the same time, like, taste it while you're drinking it as well. Now, this is more of your classic, like, tulip glass, something like that. This is going to collect all of that wonderful aroma right here instead of lifting it so much. So this is for beers that are more velvety, not quite as effervescent, that sort of thing. So what we've got here is a stout, Crux's stout, which is delicious.
Delicious, yes.
And
most stouts are.
Most stouts are. And we're going to pour some into each one, and I want you to taste them. And just, let me know if you actually really do taste anything different.
This will be, I will...
Put you on the spot here a little bit.
Yeah, it is.
So
I was doing this with a head brewer at another brewery, and he's like, "What do you taste?" I was like,
I don't know.
I don't know.
You just need to let me know if it tastes different, and what you're not so much like do you taste chocolate or all that sort of stuff. So, and since we're here, let's talk a little bit about the perfect pour.
Yes, let's do that. This is a good.
So what you want to make sure
example,
you do is you always want to tilt that glass a little bit so it kind of goes on the side. That keeps this foam from getting way too high.
Yeah.
If you just
is that about like a 45 with the glass?
I mean, I just kind of have it meet like this. You know. Well, where is the
perfect? That's good right there. Yeah.
Okay. So that's kind of this. Okay,
lovely.
so there's that one, and then here's this one. We're going to do the same thing, as you can see. Kind of get that down in there a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
Pour that in here.
Now there's it's called the head, right?
Mm-hmm.
The bubbly.
Yep,
there's
head.
more on this. Oh, I guess that's it's still forming.
And that's okay too, because there's probably actually very similar amounts of head. It's just that this is in a smaller space.
It looks different, right?
So yeah. So I mean, that's the other thing too, is it just looks really different too. So go ahead and taste each one, and
so
let me know if you.
I'm going to taste this one out of the Saison glass first. Okay.
And give it a good sniff, and You getting anything?
Smells good. Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe a little bit chocolatey in there. Maybe.
Maybe.
We'll see.
Yeah.
All right. Now I'm going to drink it. It's good. Smooth. Smooth. That's really good. Maybe I'll drink all this and forget everything I'm learning.
And we're done.
Okay.
No.
And this one.
Same thing. Same
much
here.
bigger, much wider glass. What's this called?
This is the tulip glass.
Tulip glass. Okay. Let's try this. I can eat oyster crackers or something between, but it's the same beer. So
it's the same beer, yeah. But does it taste the same? That's the difference.
It doesn't taste the same.
Yeah? What are you getting different? Is that one more stout-y?
Yeah, well, that I was going to try to describe it. So I was skimming your book before this, picking up some terminology. Yeah, it's more stouty.
Yeah.
That's a good, yeah.
Which is now officially a word. It's more stouty.
Yeah, more stouty.
Yeah, but see how that glass accentuates that beer,
right?
As this glass does not. It kind of dumbs down the flavors, I think.
Yes, I was going to say this has Oh, I'm starting the beer burps already.
That's always the problem with doing podcasts when you're drinking beer.
Exactly. I definitely get more of kind of what a stout should taste like. This, I mean, I could still tell that was a stout,
good.
but it was just like, that's a little bit different. Yeah. So then, obviously most bars and breweries and tap rooms, come in a pint glass.
Right.
Is that more of just a neutral?
It's kind of neutral.
Kind of okay for everything?
Yeah, the shaker glass is what they call it, actually. It's called a shaker glass.
Okay.
And it originated as the vessel that bartenders would use to shake their cocktails.
Right. Yes.
So it really wasn't ever meant to be used as a beer glass. Huh. But when craft brewers first started, they needed something to put their beer in. And a lot of the beers at that point were lagers, so there were a lot of kind of tall Pilsner glasses around. Okay. They knew that their beers weren't tasting good in that. They were trying to find something that was cheap, because nobody had money back then. They were all, they were all like making beer out of their old dairy equipment and all that kind of crazy
out of
stuff.
Their garages and barns.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Whatever else.
So these shaker pints is what they're called now. Were shaker glasses were cheap. And they're sturdy.
Interesting.
And, so they just started them that way. And so it kind of became the official, unofficial beer glass of craft breweries.
I have a couple of buddies who, whenever we go out, refuse to drink beer out of anything besides that glass. And it's, now I can make fun of them and say, you can't drink that stout out of that. You're doing it wrong.
You're doing it all wrong. I mean, it's an okay glass because it has a nice bit, it's tall enough to accommodate the sparkly beers.
Right.
And it's also wide enough to let something that needs a little more, collection in the bowl to work as well. So, I mean, it's passable. Okay. And I think that's why.
Yeah, it's not terrible, but these are much more. This is when you start getting into kind of that next level beer knowledge and awareness and all of that stuff.
Yeah, and so that's why in Belgium, every beer that is made actually has its own glass.
Really?
Every beer has its own glass.
Good grief! How do you keep that in stock?
I know. You should see. I mean, I'm like, wow. I'm so glad that I don't have a beer bar in Belgium because all the glassware. And if they don't actually have the glassware, like it broke or something, they will find something that's extremely close to it. It might not have the branding, but it might be the same shape, and they will apologize profusely. I'm so sorry, I don't have the proper glass.
That's like a whole nother level.
Oh yeah. That's like
serious training, like
beer 401 or something.
Yeah, exactly. It's like a senior graduate doctoral program. Well, you kind of know a lot about beer. You're kind of an expert. You've literally written the book about craft. What's it called? Craft beers of the Pacific Northwest.
Yep.
I have to admit, in true Oregonian snobbery, I only read the Oregon sections.
Of course.
Or section. That came out in what was it,
2011. So it could use an update.
Well, I was just going to ask you, when is version 2.0? Because I noticed that there's so much has happened in the last...
Right.
Well, I guess you probably did the research 2009 and 10, maybe. Yeah. So a lot has happened.
And, when I was approached to write the book, I didn't want to do just here are all the breweries in these areas, because I knew that as soon as it came out, it would be obsolete. And I also knew that the internet is there. You don't really need a book for that.
Now? Yes.
I know. That thing called the internet.
Right.
So I really worked at trying to have it be a book that would stand the test of time a little bit more. So it's more like stories about some, special places.
It's more historical. There's lots of research and how did this place get here, and
kind of that
significance
sort
of an area.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's more like kind of a companion as you go through your beer exploration, as it is just a comprehensive guide to all the breweries.
Right.
Because you could never keep up.
No.
So when I did that, I kind of wanted it to be like that. That being said, it could certainly use an update, because I think it really could, benefit from a lot of new places that have opened up that are also, just as equally.
If you're going to do that, though, it's like a monthly update then.
God, no kidding. I should just do a
quarterly
website or something.
Yeah, exactly. Well, maybe that's,
in all of our vast amount of spare time, why don't we do that?
Right, exactly. That could be our next business venture together,
step.
Lisa.
Yeah, there we go.
So I wonder if you could take us back to the beginning and maybe, in a brief snapshot. How did you get into the beer world? And, I say that just
did I get
in
into the beer
awe
world?
of, kind of what you've done from the beer radio show. But is that still going on? I know that you stepped away now.
I stopped Beer O'Clock a couple of years into doing Belmont Station.
And no one picked it up?
Just because, it was really weird. We tried to find somebody to do it, and nobody was really interested. So,
really?
Yeah.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
That's too bad.
It is too bad. I mean, the whole reason why I did that in the first place was because they approached me, and I thought, wow, Portland really needs a beer show. I mean, it really deserves a beer show.
You would think so, maybe.
So I thought, well, let's do it, and
and see what happens.
See what happens. Yeah, exactly.
So how did your interest in beer? Because if I understand, you grew up in Oklahoma moved to
and Colorado.
So you've kind of migrated across the country.
I'm heading west, young man.
So
yes.
Maybe Hawaii is next for you. I don't know.
Or Alaska if I keep that trajectory.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
But my husband and I moved here to Portland in '89, and in Colorado, craft beer was just kind of becoming a thing then there as well. We came here, it was a little more ahead of Colorado, but still fledgling. But it was so exciting and we had kind of courted over beer. We both really loved beer already, and there was an old Chicago in Fort Collins that had their little beer world tour, and so we were kind of like we'd go in and try these different foreign beers and stuff, and had many a date that way.
Would you bring notepads and
we weren't
document
quite that
stuff?
geeky
Not quite that. Okay.
Yeah.
Yet. I
but
like that.
but yeah, we really we enjoyed that, and so we came out here, and it was like, wow, there's all these local beers. This is so cool.
Right.
Started exploring them, had a great time. I was working as a television reporter and anchor, and then producer. And was kind of getting a little disenfranchised with what I was doing. So this one day I was at, I think it was the Spring Beer and Wine Fest. And I saw Fred Eckhart, who I had not yet met.
It's another beer.
Yes, luminary.
Icon. I don't know
yeah,
what the
yeah.
right word
I mean,
is.
he's a legend.
Yeah.
He was a legend. I guess he still is a legend.
Sure.
So I noticed him, and he was taking notes on all these beers, and all these people around him, and they were talking about these beers and stuff. And by that time, we were getting pretty geeky. We were home brewing and doing a bunch of stuff.
Okay.
And I thought, this would be this. I mean, I write. I could do this. I could
write
do
about
this.
Yeah.
I could write about this. So, talked to Fred a lot, started doing some stuff, had a weird opportunity arise where I was interviewing for a job. I started writing for City Search.
Oh, okay.
Doing restaurant reviews and things like that, kind of on the side, and
locally or
locally,
national?
Yeah, more locally. And the editor liked my writing, and so she noticed that I mentioned beer a lot in my restaurant reviews, and so she said that she asked me if I would be interested in writing a beer column, and I thought, well, yeah, that's kind of cool. There was a beer column in the Oregonian at the time, and also the Willamette Week.
And this is early '90s.
Yeah, this would be 1995 or 6, I think. 96 probably. So I wrote one column for them, and then I wound up getting a job with a company that was working with Coin TV to do a website for their TV station.
Okay.
Back before news was actually on the web.
Right.
It was basically like, hey, here's our anchor, here's our helicopter. That was their website.
That was it.
Yeah, so it was fun to be a part of that. But when we were negotiating, they told me that they didn't want me to work for City Search anymore because they felt like City Search was possibly a competition,
a competitor.
So we were going back and forth with salary and things like that, and
you asked them just to be paid in beer. Is that
right? And I said, and then they said, well, we want to pay you this much money, and I was like, I need to have more money than that, and we went back and forth, and then I said, finally, just out of it just kind of sprung from my heart or something, but I said, I will take that salary. I will take that measly salary if you let me write a beer column. And I'm sure they thought, okay, she's nuts. Now she's offering to do more work for the same amount of money.
That's not how you negotiate, Lisa.
Nobody ever said I was a good negotiator. But it worked out.
You must be doing something right here.
Yeah, it worked out because I wound up getting a lot of exposure with that.
Sure.
I was like, a female writing about beer in Portland. It was on the internet, so it was easy for people to share. It kind of like got me a lot of exposure pretty quickly.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I would love to, I don't think those columns exist anymore.
That would be fun to go back and read.
But I would love to go back and read those because I know that there was so much bad stuff in there.
Bad beer or bad writing?
Just bad writing. Well, and just bad, like me. I was learning about beer as I was going along. So, there was a lot of just...
How cool is that, though? Because everyone back then was learning.
Yeah,
I mean, that was before I could drink, but it was like everyone was learning about all that stuff.
Yeah,
so
it was pretty cool.
Yeah.
And Mark and I, my husband and I, were members of the Oregon Brew Crew, Homebrew Club. Those guys were great at helping me out. Sure. I mean, they were just incredible. They gave me such a great education, really supported me a lot.
Okay.
And so that was really fun. Got to give them a shout out.
Yeah, you really were at the kind of the nexus here of the Oregon Brew. I mean, I know it's been around for longer than that, but just
that's
really
when
it
first started
taking
off. And that was kind of that first kind of bubble.
Sure.
And then a lot of the big breweries got into making their own craft beers. I'm sorry, back then they were microbreweries. And that kind of created this weird bubble that burst that then we kind of like lost ourselves for a little bit. And then it started building up again, and of course, now we've reached out to so many more people. And
do you think it's I know everyone asks this, but do you think it's coming to a bit of a head? Do you think the bubble is bursting? I mean, it seems
like it's slowing down a little bit.
Right.
But I just read something from the Brewers Association saying that there's more than 5,000 breweries across the country now, and there's another like almost 3,000 planned.
Wow.
So I would say there's still plenty of room for beer for sure.
It doesn't seem like people are slowing down their beer consumption either. So.
No, and you're always getting new people who are young drinkers in.
Oh, exactly.
So
Just got to get them young.
Yeah, exactly. Get them drinking the good stuff first. So
exactly.
That way they won't ever turn to the dark side.
Exactly. The gross. Well, we won't even mention them. Those that shall not be named.
Right. The beers that shall not be named.
Yes, exactly. So you are a co-owner of Belmont Station.
Yep.
Are you the majority owner?
I am.
Are you the
51%.
51%. Perfect. So buck stops right here.
Yep.
And I was on your website this morning. You currently have 1,456 different bottles and cans.
Yes.
And that changes weekly.
It changes twice a week. Because we change that every time we get a new big shipment. So on Tuesdays and Fridays we get our big shipments.
Okay. Well, you have to update your sign because that's just 1,300.
Well, we did that to be safe because it does actually dip down sometimes.
Oh, it does?
So, yeah. But I think we're probably well above the 1,300 now.
Gotcha. And you've got 20 plus taps?
We have 24 total,
24 total.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And you've got Monk's Deli out in the back.
Yeah.
This is what's so cool. Well, two things I think are cool about Belmont Station. One, I live super close to it.
That helps a lot.
So this is someone asked me what is my local watering hole, it would be here.
Nice.
And the second thing is this is a beer mecca in a city that's a beer mecca.
Yeah.
So it's pretty amazing. And so I'm curious, can you describe Belmont Station more philosophically? Like what is this place? It's obviously, a huge warehouse of beer and selection, but it's got to be more than that to you than just a lot of beer.
Yeah, it really is. We want to be a place that is inclusive, that is welcoming, that is educational. If people come in and they have questions, we want them to feel comfortable asking those questions and not feel, like
a little intimidated.
Yeah, exactly. We want this to be people's local. We have a lot. We have a really awesome, core group of people that are regulars that are here all the time. But we also have a ton of travelers that are, traveling all over the world. The people right behind us are here from Pennsylvania. So
lovely. And they made this part of their stop.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's cool,
as they're traveling along on their honeymoon. Oh. So I know. Isn't that cute? It's so sweet.
That is cute. Yeah. It's fun how you can have a. Because I always hear people talking about Portland is too touristy, too this, too that, keep it weird. But this place seems like the best of both of those worlds. You get the locals, the community, but you also get, the influx of new people that you can share your story with and take their money.
Well, so great. We've been here for a while, so there's a little bit of that,
97?
Too. Yeah, 97. So we just celebrated our 20th anniversary.
And how long have you been at this location?
It's been, I want to say, 12 years now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow, it's been a long time.
I know, it really has. It's kind of incredible when
Belmont
you think about
Station
it.
on Stark Street is a little bit confusing,
It
but
is. Well, and I would say that would be business lesson number 1. Do not name your business after the street that you're on, because you might move. Yeah,
you could move. Yeah,
this is the Belmont neighborhood, though, and I always tell people, I'm like, it's the Belmont neighborhood.
Well, it's only what, 4 or 5 blocks.
Yeah, just one
from where you were before, next to Horse Brass over there, which is another iconic establishment that we don't have time to get into. This may be asking you like favorite child or something like that, but do you have a favorite Oregon brewery or Oregon beer, or if that's too tough to answer, just an Oregon beer that you're really enjoying right now?
Well, I mean,
there's so many. How do you?
Who isn't loving the Fort George 3-way IPA right now?
There you go.
I mean, that is just it's the summer beer. And nobody can get enough of it. It's so fantastic. And this year with Melvin and Rubens as their other 2 breweries. And it's a hazy IPA.
Ooh,
so people are going all over that.
I haven't had that yet. I will have to.
Oh, you've got to get.
Do you have it here right now?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'll have
definitely.
to make sure I get that before.
Yeah.
Before
you better get it soon,
yeah.
because I think they've only got a couple more weeks that they're making it, and then it's going to be gone for the year. And then it'll be a brand new beer next year that's another IPA.
It'll be something else good. Do
Yeah.
you generally gravitate more towards IPAs? Or?
I do. When I just want like a good, I just want to sit down and have a beer, it's either going to be a nice crisp lager or it's going to be an IPA.
Okay.
That's kind of, my comfort food.
That's your lasagna or mac and cheese.
Yeah,
is
exactly.
A good old Pacific Northwest IPA.
Yep,
yeah.
Yep, pretty much. But I enjoy, obviously, I enjoy all the different styles.
Sure.
I'm super fond of the Flanders Red, and and I enjoy, not super sour beers, but some sours and things. So just try to.
What was Puckerfest like for you then? That must have been.
Puckerfest is always fun.
It's a great.
I always like to just get little tastes of all of them, because then it's like, oh, perfect. Just 2 sips. That's all I need.
Yeah, my wife and I were here, a little date night. Left the kids at home with Grandma, and
nice.
We got. I don't remember how many we got, but it was interesting. We each had different favorites. The one that she really liked, I didn't care for,
Isn't that funny?
And vice versa. So yeah,
that's why they make so many different styles.
Well, exactly.
That's what makes it so great.
And we're just kind of enjoying, especially in the summertime, sour beers. I think for me are just
they're refreshing, and they're usually lighter in ABV. So
you drink a couple without
you don't
having
feel
problems,
especially when it's hot. And
right, exactly.
So all good.
Yes. Well, Lisa, we're going to shift gears a little bit because you are the beer goddess. Is your Twitter handle, and where'd that name come from?
Gosh, it was one of those
Ninkoski beer.
One of those crazy little things where I was actually working on my. So I did get hired by that company to do the website,
great.
And I did do get to do the beer column, and I was working on a beer column, and I was kind of I was wasting time. Let's face it. I was wasting time. I was trying to come up with something, and I was trying to find something, and I couldn't figure out what it was. And so I was like Googling things, just like Googling names, trying to find this one website that I couldn't remember. And instead of just like, I don't know, like actually sitting down and trying to find it in my notes or something, I just was sitting there
kept
like
Googling like over and over.
Yeah,
we've all been there.
Yeah, you know how it is. You're just kind of like taking a little break,
right?
But looking like you're working. Not that I would ever do that.
No, I've never done that.
No. But I came across one, and it said this website is for sale or whatever, and I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. And then I started thinking maybe I should have my own website. So then I started Googling things like that, and I came up with Beer Goddess, and it was available, and I went, oh, I just bought it immediately.
Jackpot.
Yep.
You got to have a good URL name. I mean, that really sets the tone.
So I started telling. I hadn't done anything with it yet, but I started telling people. I was like, I just bought this website, and it was just immediately stuck. Everybody's like, the Beer Goddess.
Like, here
I am.
There you
years
go.
later as the Beer Goddess.
Well, it's a
great
very catchy. Yeah,
it's a great handle.
It's fantastic.
Yeah,
it's fantastic. Well, so Beer Goddess, I asked you kind of our main. What I was hoping is to talk about beer and Beer 101, and as we email back and forth, they're like, there's a million different directions to go.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
I mean,
we could make a series out of that.
We
seriously.
could hours and hours. We have the Lord of the Rings extended edition here. But so where we kind of landed was, and 7 is a bit arbitrary, but basically 7 kind of things that you should know about beer. And some of them are very simple. Some of them are a bit more like this pouring example from the beginning, a bit more kind of next level. But the first question I want to ask you, what is beer?
Beer is a magical elixir.
It is the only source of potable water for many years.
For many years, the only thing that let people live through the the plague. Beer is also a social lubricant.
Yeah.
Beer is something that I feel like brings people together in ways that a lot of other beverages don't.
Right.
You see that a little bit with any alcoholic beverage, but I think beer, for some reason, is everybody's beverage.
It seems to be.
Yeah, it's just one of those things that everybody can like kind of rally around it, and if they don't like beer, it's just because they haven't found a beer they like yet, because there's so many flavors.
That's true. That's so true.
Yeah. So, I feel like beer is that, but beer is also. It's very simple. Mm-hmm. It's just basically made out of water, yeast, hops, and malted barley.
And that's it.
And that's it. It's so simple.
Anybody could go make it.
Right. And the weirdest thing about it is like look at all you can do with just those 4 ingredients. And that's what's so cool about beer.
Right. Is the
other thing about beer for me, and I think a lot of other people feel the same way, is the more you know about beer, the more you realize you don't know a lot about beer.
Exactly. This is, we've been doing the Oregon Brew Running Series for a little over a year, and I've just been immersed in this, and every time I learn more, it's just like 10 more things. I'm like, I don't.
Yeah, you're like,
I don't know what that means.
Never mind.
Yeah,
yeah.
I can't figure that out.
Yeah. It's just, I've been working in beer for almost 20 years now, and it still blows my mind.
Yeah.
How little I know.
It's fun. You can still be surprised, and there's still more to learn.
Oh, it's incredible. There's just so much. Which way do you want to go? Where do you want to go today?
Right,
what do you want to do? What do you want to talk about?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then, we'll get to this, but you start talking about pairings and like other stuff, and
oh my gosh, yeah.
Unlimited.
Yeah.
So one of the questions on here is what gives beer its color? We talk about, this stout right here is very, very dark.
Very dark.
This is something I got earlier was the I lost the list. It's one of the sours you have right now on tap, which is very light. What gives it the color, and does that mean anything? Like if I have a light beer, does that mean it's fruity and fun? A dark beer is like coffee? Like what does that mean? What's the significance?
Yeah, well, so basically the color only comes from the amount of mostly comes from the amount of roast that the malted barley gets.
Okay.
So think of like a coffee bean. I'm sure you've been in like Starbucks or something like that where they have the display of like the green beans that haven't had any roast, and then all the way over to exactly. It's the same thing with malt.
Oh, okay.
So because it goes into a kiln, and it will spend some time in that heat, and as that heat goes on, then it gets toastier, just like a piece of toast or anything else. What that does is it provides color. So this obviously has a lot of like really highly dark roasted malt in it, but it also provides different flavors because, as you know, there's a big difference between like a piece of bread that has barely seen any heat at all, and then a piece of bread that is burnt.
Left it on too long in the toaster.
Whoops. Yep. Exactly. So the brewers will take all these different malts and blend them to make that particular color, flavor, everything that they want.
Interesting.
In a beer. Sometimes with sours, the reason why I had that little caveat is also fruit and some other adjuncts, as they call them. Adjuncts can lend color as well. So, if you've got like a beer that has a lot of raspberries in it or something, you might see it be pink, or hibiscus is obviously one of those ones with lots of bright, vibrant colors and things. So, but mostly, even still then, that color, that initial color for that beer before anything else goes into it, is going to be determined by the malt.
By the malt.
Yeah.
Interesting. I know in your book you talk about appearance as one of the, is it 4 or 5
kind of clues to what your beer is?
Like what you should look at, like if you're interested in education. So color is obviously part of that appearance. Are there any surprise beers, like something really light that's like, oh wow, that's actually tastes like a stout, or vice versa?
Well, they've got some like blonde stouts coming out these days that taste like stouts, but they're made with lighter malts, which is just it blows my
that's witchcraft. How do you do that?
I don't know. My eyes are like looking at one thing and drinking something else, and it's a little weird sometimes.
Okay.
But the other thing too is a lot of people I think equate like a light color beer with a lighter ABV or a lighter flavor, and then a darker beer is going to be, you know, like kind of bitter or something like that. Not necessarily always the truth. You know, we can think of like triples, for example, the Belgian triple, which is often very much kind of this color or something like that. Right. And then what you get though is a beer that's pretty high in alcohol. Usually, you know, like 8, 9, 10%, and can be very rich in flavor. So it just depends on how they use those malts, and add other things like sugars to create a higher alcohol.
Okay, to change the alcohol content in there. Right, right. That's interesting.
Yeah. It's all part of the like the brewer's palate, right?
Right.
As an artist. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and it's interesting how much art and science goes into brewing. I mean, it's amazing. I mean, we could talk about that forever. But,
yeah, right.
They're supposed to be simple. So I'm trying to think of the next question here. Why don't we go, is there a wrong or a right way to taste beer? And, you know, there's kind of that joke of what's your favorite beer, whatever beer's in my hand.
Yeah,
and so
that's always my answer.
These questions are, questions are definitely more towards like people that want to educate themselves. So, of course, there's not a wrong way, but if you're maybe wanting to be a little bit more educational with your beer, like is there a better way to taste it than another?
Yeah, I think so. And you know, the most important thing though is to always just enjoy your beer. You know, I mean, sometimes it's so easy to get kind of caught up in I've got to take notes on this and I got to remember this and I've got to do this and you know, and I'm just as guilty as anybody else. But you know, if you don't at least take a couple of minutes and actually just enjoy the darn thing, it's kind of lost, I think.
Exactly.
Yeah. But, you know, we can, if you don't mind me, we can
go ahead.
Go with this. So typically you start with appearance.
Okay.
You know, and you can like look at that and obviously there's a lot of things that will tell you that, you know, it's very dark. You know, this head on this thing is still going strong, which is amazing. It's beautiful. It's got a lovely color to it. Then the next thing you do is, you know, and you can like notice if there's bubbles rising still or, you know, some things like that.
Like a champagne almost or something.
Yeah, give it a little, you know, little spin here in the glass and see if it kind of like revives the head, which it did. So that
goes up on the sides there. You got some, we call those legs in the beer world. I know it's the wine.
It's the same
term, okay.
And, you know, that kind of gives you a little bit of an idea of, you know, there's some effervescence in there and that sort of thing. Then you just give it a good sniff.
Okay. Which I would do in this, but it's not going to work as well.
I know, I'm going to try that, actually, because I'm curious. There's like nothing there compared to this one. That's amazing. Seriously.
That's not...
This smells like dessert. I mean, that is just, you know, there's like some chocolate notes, some nutty stuff.
That
is amazing, isn't it? Yeah.
Just the difference in glass.
Yep. Yeah, glassware is amazing.
That's fascinating.
So you know, you give it a little sniff, you know, make some mental notes or whatever you want to with that, and then you finally get to taste it. And what you're looking for in tasting it is, first of all, you're looking for that initial kind of flavor.
What hits you right away.
What hits you right away. Yep. And then you're looking for something like little bit, what they call sometimes mid-palate, where you're kind of looking at like, okay, what does that fade into then? And what's in that part of it? And then at the very end, the finish, which is right before you swallow. And then that little kind of like after you swallow, you kind of get that whatever flavor. The aftertaste kind of
a thing.
Yeah.
Right.
And then the other thing you're looking for as you take those sips is the texture. Or what they call mouthfeel.
Yeah, okay.
How does that feel in your mouth? Is it spritzy and effervescent? Does it prickle your tongue? Is it velvety and lay just in your mouth like nice and silky and feel like a good cozy blanket kind of?
Like go down easy.
Yeah,
or
exactly.
You have to struggle to swallow.
You have to kind of really think about it. Is it kind of viscous? Is it really nice and crisp? There's so many things you can get from that as well. Yeah.
Well, I think what's so important about, you know, I totally agree with you. Just enjoy it. What I think is helpful to educate yourself on this, at least a little bit, is that when you're out with friends and, you know, looking at your tablets right now, there's, you know, it's a little overwhelming for someone, especially if you don't really know kind of what you want. So if you are aware of some of the things that, you know, I like a real smooth finish or I like a real, you know, whatever, then when you go to a place that you haven't been or you're not familiar, you can, I think, more easily pick something out that you'll enjoy.
True. Yeah,
and then
absolutely.
You don't waste your money on something that's
because there's nothing worse than that. And you're not only just sticking with the one beer that you know.
Exactly.
Which is the other thing. Yeah. And
Yeah.
I used to teach a class for women on beer because I think we all get rabbit in the road syndrome with long lists.
Right.
But I feel like especially at first, not so much now, but especially at first, women need a lot more coaxing to get into craft beer. And what I would do is I would go through a series of styles, and we would write down keywords of the ones that they liked and what they liked about it.
Oh, cool.
So I just always use that as like a thing. It's like, just find some keywords.
Yes.
And then you can tell the bartender, or you can look on the menu and be like, oh, this one looks like it's, crisp and lively, and I like crisp and lively, or this one's, smooth and velvety, and and tastes like chocolate. I love chocolate. So that's cool.
Yeah.
The other thing you can do is you can actually just look at what are the things you like to drink.
Sure.
Do you like coffee? If you like coffee, do you like it black or with cream?
Yep.
Do you like lemonade? That might be something you might want to go something lemony and kind of sour.
Or the citrus. I love citrus,
citrusy.
so I look for those things.
Yeah, exactly. Or maybe you're a wine drinker. Usually, look for something that can mimic some wine notes.
That's a good call.
And that makes it easy because you already know what you like.
Right.
So if you can kind of like take that and go, okay, I can apply that to beer in this way. There you go.
When I so we've lived in Portland about 4 years. And when we first moved here, I was on this big stout kick because I didn't really know much else. I was like, oh, stouts are great. We'd been to Ireland the fall before that, and Guinness stout.
Yeah.
I love it.
The stout.
So my first Portland brewery bar, whatever you want to call it, tap room, tap house, everything experience was at the Green Dragon when it was still the Green Dragon.
Right.
So I sat down with all these new people I didn't know before, and the waitress comes up. She's like, "What do you have?" Like, "Do you have any stouts?" And she's like, "Yeah, we have like a dozen." I was like, "Oh no!"
Yeah. Like, you were just hoping for one.
Exactly.
So you didn't have to make a
decision.
decision.
Do you have a Guinness?
Yeah.
And I didn't dare ask that. But
yeah.
So anyway, just point being, once you know, like you said, those keywords, it's so helpful to a heavy stout, a light stout, whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
So speaking of stouts, something that we decided we could do forever is talk about different styles of beers.
Yeah.
But really, there are only two. There are ales and lagers, right?
Yeah.
I know it has something to do with fermenting, right?
Yeah.
Up, down, or...
It has a lot to do with the yeast.
The yeast, that's what it is. So talk about, top and bottom fermenting or something like that?
You got it, yeah.
So talk a little bit about that and how... from these two styles, everything else is born.
Yeah, we can kind of almost think of it like a family tree, right?
Okay,
You've got mom and dad, or whatever you want to call it, right? Or maybe it's like it's like Romeo and Juliet. It's the
Montagues and the Capulets, or
right?
whatever.
Thank you. I was trying to say catapults. I'm like, that's not right. It's
we can go with that.
Yeah, the Montagues and the Capulets.
Yeah.
These are the ales and the lagers.
Okay.
So the difference,
I'm gonna write that down.
the difference is you're looking at. You're basically looking at the yeast, and the yeast is in ales is happier with a warmer temperature.
Okay.
And it typically goes a lot faster.
These are in ales.
Mm-hmm, okay. Ales. Lagers like a colder temperature, and they usually take a little bit longer.
Okay.
So one of the reasons why ales were so popular among microbreweries, / craft breweries now, at the beginning especially, was because they could turn stuff over a lot faster.
Oh, okay. A little better production.
They didn't have the space, they didn't have the equipment, and they didn't have the money to let something linger and lager for like 6 weeks.
Is that what lager means?
Yeah.
Linger?
Well, yeah. It means locker, really, in German. Yeah, so it's like putting it in a locker, storing it away.
Oh, of course.
Right.
Of course.
So, they didn't have time to let that store away for like 6 to 8 weeks.
Sure.
So they're like, we got to do ales because we got to turn this stuff over and sell it to people so we can make some money and actually start kind of like making this happen.
Interesting.
Yeah. So it's only been in the last few years that craft brewers have had the luxury, really, of beginning to make pilsners for the most part. And every now and then you'd have like a special one for like anniversary or something like that. But just like cranking out a Mexican lager, that didn't happen a long time ago because they just didn't have the time or space or capacity.
Well, so ales, obviously IPAs come from that side. The Montagues is what I've done in my notes here.
The ales are the Montagues, is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
Obviously IPAs come from that. Where is the stout fall then? Would that be
a stout is an ale?
Stout is an ale. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And most, a lot of the kind of what we'd think of like standard, especially British beers, Irish beers, a lot of the American styles, in fact, most of the American styles, those are mostly ales. Lagers mostly came from Germany.
Where they were more patient with their beer.
Well, and they also had these like nice cold, cold caves that they could store stuff in, and and put stuff away in and stuff like that. And then there's also, like the Czechs, they kind of did the same thing. A lot of the kind of so pilsners.
But those are all lagers.
Those are all lagers. Okay. Yeah. You have some that are like the love child of the Capulets and the Montagues,
right?
And that and that would be
a great
like
example, by the way, that we set up here.
It could get a little weird.
We'll go with it.
Kolsch is an example of that.
So like a saison, is that?
That will be an ale.
That would be an ale. Mm-hmm. Okay.
And
so
a lot
most
of those
things are ales.
Well, yeah. I mean, and the difference is a lot of times you're going to have something that's a little more fruity in flavor, a little more kind of assertive in flavor. Lagers, because they spend all that time, they tend to be rounder in flavor. If you think of the German beers, they're smooth and they're kind of round in their flavors. Yeah. There's definitely some differences.
Yeah, and you said Pilsner is a lager. That falls under that.
Yeah.
I've talked with a couple different brewers now who they really enjoy making Pilsner specifically because they're really hard because there's not much to hide behind.
Exactly.
In regards to like this hop profile or whatever else.
Yeah, you can't hide flaws in a Pilsner or any other sort of light lager like that because there's just nothing to mask it. And typically, if I go to a new brewery, I will, if they have one, I'll order their Pilsner or something like that because I figure that's a good way to kind of see what they're doing and how
good old taster. And if that's no good, then you're out of there.
I'm out.
That's good. You have to have your rubric of good beer.
Exactly.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So shifting gears a little bit, beer and food. I think what better way to enjoy a beer than pairing it with some food? Do you have any kind of good rules of thumb? Obviously, something darker, probably going to go with a heavier meal.
Right, exactly. Something lighter with lighter fare.
Right.
You certainly wouldn't want to have like this stout with, like a salad.
That's
just wouldn't go together too well. But a nice light American wheat ale or something like that would go, or a saison would go great with that salad.
Okay.
So I would say that's probably the main thing. Okay. If you can keep that, and then there's some other things you can do. You can contrast. So a lot of times like an IPA, which is very, citrusy and hop forward and that sort of thing, can go with some very fatty foods because
like
the
barbecue
or maybe even like salmon because of the oiliness in it. And I mean, you don't think of salmon as being heavy, but you do think of it as having kind of like some oil, oily component to it as a cold water fish.
Sure.
So those IPAs will kind of be like scrubbing bubbles that clean that palate out for you.
Okay.
So you can get some more of the salmon.
Augment some of those flavors a little bit.
Yeah, and exactly. Kind of mitigate that oiliness on your mouth.
Okay.
Another thing you can do is you can always complement. So a great example of that is anybody who's been to Oktoberfest in Germany and had like the
sausages.
Yeah, exactly, and the chicken, the big roast chicken and that sort of thing. You can like have that with something that's got some, especially roasted notes, like from the grill or from roasting in the oven. You can get some of those beers that have like caramel notes in it.
Oh, sure.
And that really will accentuate the same kind of flavors in the I'm getting hungry.
We should transition this. So I'm going to ask you, put you on the spot. What's your favorite beer to go with pizza?
Ooh.
We're gonna do this for a couple food groups. So
yeah. I like pilsners with pizza.
Okay.
Yeah. There's a lot going on in pizza because there's like
that's true.
There's so you got to kind of work with the acidity from the tomato sauce. You got to work with the fat from the cheese.
Yep.
But I really like a good pilsner. You can also go with like a red or something like that too.
Okay. Yeah. That works well.
Yeah.
What about like steak or any sort of like barbecue meat like we were just talking about? And like, do you have a specific?
I don't have
beer.
any specifics.
Okay.
Yeah, I typically I always feel like life is too short to not drink deeply. So I try to.
That's a good quote. Life is too short to not drink deeply.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's going to be a T-shirt sometime.
It should be. It absolutely should. I'm going to write that down right now.
Perfect. Yeah. So. With steak or something, or grilled meats. I think something again with those kind of caramel notes would be good.
Okay.
You could also easily go with an IPA
Sure.
again. That just kind of because there's a lot of fatty elements, especially like pulled pork or something like that.
Okay.
I think that would really be perfect with that for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
So kind of flipping that, what nut ales, specifically like nut brown ales?
Yeah,
I don't know if that's a specific brand from Rogue or
No, it's a style.
Okay.
Yeah.
What kind of food goes with that?
Well, right now with those, you've got again kind of like some of those nice kind of brown. I like to call them brown notes.
Brown notes.
But they're. I know that sounds weird, but they're
like
they're nutty flavors.
Right. Okay.
Lots of caramelly, kind of maybe some toffee kind of notes in there. Gosh, I'm thinking
burgers.
Burgers would be fine.
Okay.
Maybe even some Mexican food.
Ooh,
You know, like a mole or something like that might be good. Or some tacos.
Side. Yeah. Okay.
Maybe ground beef tacos or something like that. And then you could also, I'm thinking vanilla ice cream.
Oh, yeah.
Wouldn't that be good?
That would be good.
Yeah.
Maybe you could mix the two and make like a float or something.
Oh, yeah. Or a little sundae.
Yeah. All right.
That sounds yummy.
I think we might need to move off this topic. I'm going to
Because our stomachs are going to start to grumble.
Get too hungry, exactly. So we talked about the glasses earlier.
Uh-huh.
The thing I'm curious about in regards to the glasses is the chilled glass.
Yeah.
Is that good? Is that bad? We didn't talk about that yet. Some people say it's the devil. Some people really like it.
I say if you really like it, go with it. Honestly, you should enjoy beer the way you want to enjoy it.
Okay.
So if you like your beer in a frosty glass, that's great. What's going to happen with that, though, is it's going to prevent a lot of the volatiles in the beer from being warm enough to really be tasted. So what you're doing is kind of dumbing down the beer. That being said, I just spent some time in Seattle over the weekend, and we went to a favorite restaurant that serves all their beers in frosty mugs.
Oh.
And it was so much fun.
And it was good. Okay.
I didn't care. It was still great. And the fun thing about that was actually, as the mug got warmer, I actually tasted it at first. It was like, okay, I can get some stuff there. It was a Cloudburst IPA.
Okay, yeah.
So I got, some kind of like nice kind of top notes. And then as it got warmer and warmer and warmer, you could taste more of it. Yeah.
Interesting. So beer's not necessarily supposed to be consumed freezing cold.
Absolutely not, yeah.
Like a soda or water or whatever,
exactly.
a little bit warmer. That's so interesting.
Kind of like wine.
Yeah, right.
Even white wine, they say is supposed to be served not at refrigerator temperature.
Right. Well, even coffee. I was talking with the founder of Nosa Familia, and he said to really experience coffee, you have to let it cool off a little bit.
Right.
So sort of the same way of
it's just the opposite.
Yeah, the opposite. But
yeah.
it's that same idea of it's not either extreme isn't necessarily best for flavors.
Yeah, I think there's kind of a sweet spot for pretty much anything beverage oriented. If it's too hot, you're going to miss some stuff, and if it's too cold, you're going to miss some stuff. But you get that, like Goldilocks moment, and you're just right.
It's at like 10 minutes when you're
right. Drink it now.
Like, quick.
It's perfect. It's perfect.
Yeah. Well, Lisa, thank you so much. Is there any other thing things that, if you could educate the world on this one thing about beer, it would be this?
I would say stay curious. Be open to trying everything and anything that tickles your fancy, and even trying some stuff that you might think, well, that's not really going to be for me. Because, even if you buy a glass of it, it's only a few bucks, and if you can share it with somebody else, that's even better.
Exactly.
Ask for tasters. Most places are really great at
yeah, they really are
at sharing that, and that's, come to find out, that's not something you get all around the world.
Really?
I didn't know that, but I had some foreign people tell me that they just loved the fact that in America you can actually try something before. Yeah,
See,
so take advantage of that. Yeah, and just be curious, enjoy beer. Follow wherever that path takes you and have fun with it, because that's what's the best thing about beer is it's fun. One thing we wanted to do though is have you try these again now that they've warmed up a little bit. So let's do that.
Should I take
this will kind of answer your question about a warmer, the cold as well. So
should I do both of them or just
you
the
should
proper?
do both of them.
Okay, I'll do this one first. So
see
this
if that changed a little bit.
Saison glass.
Same.
A few more,
kind of
maybe
opened
a
up a
little
bit.
more.
Yeah, maybe.
It tastes a little bit better.
Okay.
I mean, it did taste bad before. I shouldn't say it like that.
Yeah.
But I guess before I didn't taste as much. Now it tastes more stouty, to use our technical terms from before.
Stouty.
Yeah, I can already tell this is in the tulip glass.
Mm-hmm.
I can tell a difference.
Yeah. Okay.
I agree, though. I think there is that sweet spot of if it gets too much warmer, it'll probably be harder to drink.
Yeah, yeah.
Especially being a stout, but...
especially being a stout, especially on a day like today.
Right, exactly. Well, Lisa, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And just thank you for creating such an amazing space.
I didn't do any of that. That was already here.
You had a part of it. But it's awesome. I mean, if, people are listening to this and, need a place to come get a bottle, just about anything...
There's a lot of bottles.
How much of the 1,456 bottles are not Oregon or Pacific Northwest? Do you do a lot of imports from around the world? We do.
You
must, because there's not that many breweries here.
Right. And we do a lot of imports, a lot of stuff from other areas of the country. But of course, we try to focus on local as much as we can.
How do you choose?
We let our customers choose for us.
Really?
Yeah. We actually we'll bring in pretty much anything or mostly anything. And then, we'll bring in a case, and if it sells well, then we'll bring in some more. If it doesn't, then it's like, okay, well, that didn't work out so well for us. Maybe it's not a good fit for our, for our store. We also will, tell people that if they want something and we don't have any more, we can always special order it for them. Those beers that just haven't quite made it with our customers, if you love it and it's still available in through our distributors, then we can certainly special order a case for somebody and they can take it home and love it. So
can you get anything?
I can get anything that's available in Oregon.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But I'm asking now. So a friend of mine owns a brewery in St. Paul, Minnesota. Mm-hmm. Bad Weather Brewing. It's a lovely little brewery. But I don't know how that works with interstate distribution and
I don't think they distribute here now. They might sometime.
Gotcha.
But it would be them contacting a distributor here and saying we want to come into Portland.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
you might want to put that button
maybe
there.
This could be maybe this could be the space.
There you go.
So Lisa, thank you again so much.
Thank you.
Gotta shake hands without knocking over
I
everything
know, I'm
here.
Be careful.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And we will probably see you in here soon.
Sounds great.
All right.
Thanks a bunch.
Thanks again.